So what else you're going to get is one-on-one coaching. This is going to be 4 times per month. So think about the group coaching where I explain, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about, and this is what you should be focusing on this month to make the most amount of money through the context of this coaching. Now, throughout that month, you and I will sit down once a week, 4 times a month, to make sure that that channel is doing what it's supposed to do. Simple as that, right? So I'm going to sit down with you and I'm going to just make the channel that's going to make you more money as your network continues to grow. And the one-on-one coaching here, once a week, we sit down and get on a call and say, okay, so these are the things that need to be done in order to make more money, so on and so forth. Here are the things that I'm going to do for you, and here are the things that you need to do as soon as you're ready. But most of the calls are going to be lining out all the things that I'm just going to do for you and the channel. And then you can just sort of learn as you go, right? So the main priority is making money right out of the gate. So I'm just going to do some done for you channels and sit down with you and say, okay, so here's the channel that I made in context of what you want and the goals that you want in your video-based business. Here's what I'm doing. Here are the things that I recommend that you do, right? So that's basically how the one-on-one coaching goes. It's meant to complement the group coaching that I do once a month. I say, okay, so this is the type of channel that you should create, because it could be a couple of different times specific to your business. But that's what the one-on-one coaching is for. Once the group coaching is over, you will have a planned call with me at least once a week to make sure that the things that I'm doing and the things that you're doing line up with what I recommend in the group coaching. It's pretty much as simple as that. But again, I know there are going to be more specific questions to this, but the one-on-one coaching, that actually answers a lot of questions. So, right, we're just going to move on to the next one, because the next thing is going to answer a bunch of questions that I know you already have. And once we get to the end, I'll open up all of the real-time questions and we'll talk about a couple of others and we'll just keep going. Sound good? Okay, so moving on. This is called the bat phone, right? So as I've said, once a month, I'm going to be doing coaching that says, okay, this is the type of channel that needs to be created. And then in the once a week coaching, the one-on-one coaching that you and I would do in a Zoom call, we'd sit down and I'd say, okay, so this is the content that I have created, and this is the content that has now been uploaded to the channel. This is everything that's required, et cetera, et cetera. And you start seeing things move as it's supposed to. But let's say you were talking to, I don't know, a potential client of yours. Let's say you do some offline marketing, and you were talking about this this network that you've been working on, and all of a sudden they're like, well, how do I get that? And you have no idea how to make money in the context of a YouTube network. Well, you can pick up the bat phone. You can just contact me. You will have my phone number, and you will contact me and you will say, hey, I've got this client. Can you explain to me, actually him, what it is that I do, i.e. you do, right? Now, please understand that I'm working all the time. As you saw earlier, the thing that excites me, my lifestyle, is the next project, the next thing. I enjoy working. What can I say? So when I give you my phone number, this isn't meant to be like, hey, let's chat. Like if I pick up the phone and I recognize your number, I'm going to expect to talk to somebody about a YouTube network, and then I'm going to expect that you and I are going to have a conversation later on in the coaching call about how to service that client, right? So that's what the bat phone is meant for, because this has happened to me numerous times. It's happened to numerous clients of mine, and they've been talking, and the next thing you know, they lose a sale because they didn't know how to explain what it is that they can do. So I've decided to implement, again, what I call the bat phone, in case if for any reason, at any time, someone's like, well, okay, but could you do that for me? The answer is yes. And if you don't know how to explain it, all you have to do is contact me and I will explain it for you. And then later on, you and I will sit down in the next coaching call and we'll discuss how to service that particular client. So that's the bat phone that answers a bunch of questions that I'm sure you might have, like, well, can I sell this to an offline client? And the answer is yes. And if you don't know how to do it, well, that's a part of the offering that I have of, well, if you don't know how to explain it just yet, and you're brand new to this idea, but you think it's really cool and you have a whole bunch of people who could totally benefit from this, don't worry. You jump in, you do the onboarding, all that other kind of stuff, and you can fast forward through all that because the training, the first month of training is already there. And as I said before, the first month of training is basically making sure that you and I line up properly so that I can service you the right way, right? Now, again, if you have offline clients or clients of any kind who you are watching this and you're going, wait a second, they could have a network of YouTube channels and they could have the best possible traffic leading to their offer. They just need the right kind of channels pointing to the right kind of offer. Oh, yes, exactly. That is what the bat phone is for. For when you get an idea and you go, is this possible? You can call me, and even if it isn't possible, I will figure out a way to make it possible. I'm the kind of guy who knows how to take an impossible funnel and turn it into a very possible and profitable funnel. So the bat phone is meant for that. But again, I'm not just farting around on Facebook, guys. I'm actually working. So when you have this information, when you have access to me, you're contacting me, and I go, okay, so who am I going to be talking to about this thing? And then we're going to have another call later on. But that's what the bat phone is for. Please use it for what it's intended for. I will happily talk to you if you just want to, say, hey, what's up, Zane, and just have a conversation. But that's not really what the bat phone was ever intended for, right? Commissioner Gordon never went, hey, Batman, just wanted to let you know about my crumbling marriage. Nope, he never did that. The only time he ever picked up the bat phone was to go, Gotham is in trouble. So when your personal Gotham is in trouble and you don't know what to do and you go, oh, how do I help this client? You pick up the bat phone and you contact me, and I will talk you through the process or talk your client through the process or whatever it is. And we will hammer out whatever details until whatever impossible funnel suddenly becomes possible. And again, we will follow that up with the corresponding coaching call afterwards to make sure that your client can be actually serviced. And then also additionally, so that you can be paid. That there is the bat phone, which I'm sure has other questions, which if you have any questions about the bat phone, really it's just best to contact me. You can direct message me on Facebook. I will answer any questions that you might have. All right. So moving on. Next is the subscriber sequence. I am particularly proud of this because this is my finely tuned process to get any YouTube channel the audience it needs to thrive. Now, again, understand what I'm saying is it gets you the audience it needs to thrive because the content you produce is the content that you produce. That's it. What you need is the right audience, the right people to come to your videos so that you can just keep creating content or creating content that you want to create or creating content that's the most viable, it makes the most money, it makes the most sense for you. So whoever, if your audience lands in on your channel, they're like, yeah, okay, I will subscribe and I will go to a corresponding website. I will join that website and I will be a member of that, or I will buy a product, something like that. What I'm saying is creating a subscriber sequence is more about creating the type of content that alerts the audience that you and your content aligns with. That's really it. It's not about having the right kind of content to attract the audience. No, these days it's actually the opposite. You can just create your content and figure out, reverse engineer what kind of people are the appropriate audience. And then you can leverage all sorts of things like the already existing algorithms, the computer brains that figure it out. And then we title things, we tag things, we do all sorts of things on what's called an organic side, right? Just what you call things. But we're also going to be leveraging paid traffic. Now, don't worry too much about this because in a minute, I'm going to be talking to you about a micro budget, that you don't have to pay for. Somebody else is covering the cost. I have been doing this long enough that I've made deals and whatnot where I don't have to pay for the traffic. You don't have to pay for the traffic. We can use what's called a micro budget. So we can create a subscriber sequence and then sorry, and then corrugate the traffic from there. As in, we create some pieces of content, or I create the pieces of content for you. And then that content is uploaded to the channel that I create also for you. And then I create a framework of ads that basically teach the algorithms, the organic algorithms, the robots, say, hey, this is the type of traffic that we want. This is what we're willing to pay for. This is what we're willing not to pay for. And then you just let it go. And then doing that for long enough, that subscriber sequence basically forces the search engines to give you only the traffic that you want. And again, through using my specific system, I will be able to leverage an ad spend that you don't have to pay for. And guess what? I don't even have to pay for it. But that's not really something you need to know about, but I figured I'd tell you anyway. You're not paying for it. I'm not paying for it. I took the effort and energy to go to somebody else and say, hey, I'd like to do this thing, and I would like to have other people just play around and test with ads to train the system. That's it. Now, if you'd like to know more specifically about this, you can ask more questions, but really, I mean, that's a big, gigantic rabbit hole that we would fall down, and this webinar would just go on forever and ever and ever. If you want to know more about the subscriber sequence and then how I would just do that for you, all you need to do is jump in and then go through the onboarding that's already there. And again, that onboarding is just making sure that you and I connect the most effectively, right? So that onboarding is just to make sure that I know what works best for you, time schedules, those kinds of things. Because again, we're talking about, hey, group coaching, this is the channel that you should make. And then the done for you part, hey, this is the channel that I'm making for you. And then we go into the one-on-one coaching and I say, hey, this is the channel that I made for you. And then these are the videos that were made in the subscriber sequence. And this is how I made them based on previous coaching calls that you and I had. Right. So again, I could answer these questions and I happily will once we get to the end. But really what makes the most sense is for you to just jump in and then start going through the onboarding process. And if we get through, I don't know, if we get halfway through the onboarding process and you realize, oh, this actually isn't going to work for me, that's fine. That's when you would refund. I know I shouldn't say that in the middle of a webinar, but that's what you would do. You would go into the onboarding and then you would start talking directly with me, and I would start building the channel and I would start going through the stuff. And at any point you're like, wow, this isn't working for me, I'd say, okay, then we need to end this call so that I can make sure and go to the next person in the queue so that I can make sure and say, okay, now here's the channel that I've made for you, and this is the video sequence, this is the subscriber sequence that I have created, and this is how these things go. It's going to go for a little bit like this, and then it's just going to get the organic traffic, right? So that's the subscriber sequence. If that gets a little confusing for you, by all means, just send me a private message here on Facebook. You've seen my profile before. Not very difficult. I mean, I showed you at the beginning of the webinar as well. There's also the URL. It's really not that hard. I'm a private person, but my Facebook profile is public facing for the purposes of marketing. So um, you can just send me a direct message and ask me whatever questions that you have. It's really that simple. I don't like to let too many barriers get in the way of somebody trying to ask me questions about how to make money on YouTube, right? So subscriber sequence. There you go. Again, I'll answer any questions that you might have at the end. We're just gonna go ahead and move right on. All right, so video creation as needed. Now, as you've seen, as I've sort of built up to this, video creation will just sort of come as you know. I'm gonna have channels that are preset. Say, okay, these are the channels that you should make. This is the best thing. This is why. And then we go into a one-on-one, you with me. We talk one-on-one. I say, okay, here are the videos, the subscriber sequence that I created for this specific channel for you, and this is how it's going, right? Now, at this point, maybe you have a specific direction for your channel or a series of channels, or you have a product that you want to sell or something like that. And the subscriber sequence that I created is doing okay, but it could be doing better. Well, in this one-on-one, we'll be talking to each other and going over metrics and things like that. And you'll say something to the tune of, oh, okay, so what's happening here between this video and this video, it's just not converting as well. And I would say, okay, great. So the video that needs to be made is XYZ video. You'd say, yes. Okay, I will make that video. And then I will make that video. That's it. I know video creation sounds more complicated than that, but in the context of what we're talking about, there you go. Video creation as needed. This is how impossible funnels turn into possible funnels. For some reason, people don't want to just create that extra bit of content. It's beyond me. If one piece of content is the barrier between not making money and then making money, well, when we sit down, when we find out, well, this is not converting because of these reasons, and these reasons are a piece of content that fits right here, well, guess what? I make that content for you. Or we can try something else, and that is, well, not my dailies checklist. We'll get into that in a second. I thought the next slide was hosting a broadcast, but apparently that's a little bit further on. What I'm trying to say is that if we needed to, I would host a broadcast for you, and then I would do the appropriate things. But apparently, how I had these slides constructed, well, oh well. Okay, so we'll jump on that in just a second. What you're also going to get is my dailies checklist. This is what I do on a daily basis to keep me sharp. So that checklist, right? I mean, I don't have it for you right this second on the screen, but I will tell you what that checklist is. Now, the first thing that I do is I actually do domain research. I want to go down to the domain level. I want to see exactly where my video efforts could work, right? Could I sell a domain to somebody? Because that actually does selling somebody a domain, leveraging YouTube and YouTube channels, phenomenally easy. We'll get into that in just a second. But I will do domain research. I will try and find domains that I would think that would be able to sell very, very quickly, because that's a very, very fast way to make money, specifically with YouTube. Right now, the next thing I do is I find a product or uh, a product creator to research. Now, in the context of a product or a product creator, in this specific context, I'm talking about an information product creator, somebody who has a product that they want to sell, usually in the vein of making money online, right? So in the context of the things that I do on a daily basis, I want to find a product, an information product that's teaching people how to make money, or I want to find a product creator who does that, right? Because if I can find the product, or I can find the product creator who does that consistently, I can find some really, really good information that will help me later on construct that channel, right? Now, the other thing that I do is I will also start going around and I will start doing research about YouTube channels themselves. I'll look at things like comments, and I'll look at things like view count and how often those views, those specific videos are viewed. Again, this is my Dailies checklist. This is the thing that I put in my head when I start going around YouTube and start going, okay, how can I make money? What can I do? Again, this Dailies checklist also is helpful for me if I don't quite know what to do for that day, or if I'm not feeling motivated enough. I will grab my checklist and go, okay, what should I be doing? What are my most valuable activities I could be doing right now? And that's this checklist. So finally, what I like to do is I'll check out. Okay, well, this depends on where I am, like physically. Sometimes I will go to a store, or I will go like if I feel like I need to get out of the house, I'll go to a store and start looking at things that people want to buy. If I don't want to go outside, or I don't have any errands to run and I need to stay in the office and I need to work, then I will go and I will check out Amazon and eBay. I will check out products and I will look at things that people are interested in buying. And again, this is just if I don't know what to do, or if I'm confused, or if I'm frustrated. This is the checklist to sort of get me back on track and go, okay, how do I get my brain back on track so that I can make money with YouTube? So you'll be getting that as well. So the Dailies checklist is really, again, it's something that is very helpful for me. I think it would be very helpful for you if there was ever a time, like if we got off of a coaching call and you started working and then all of a sudden you lost momentum and you wanted to get back to work. You go, what do I do? You pull out your daily checklist and you'd start following that specific checklist of things that I just lined out for you to do. And by the time you got to your second or third one, either you'd get something that you go, oh, this is something valuable that I can work on right now, and then stop and then get back to the original thing that I was working on. That way, all the time, no matter what you're doing, you're always working on something that's highly valuable, even if you don't feel like you're doing anything. Right? Okay. So this was the screen I was talking about before. I got the slides mixed up. So what I was saying about the subscriber sequence, I would create that subscriber sequence. And then if at some point that subscriber sequence wasn't working as you thought it would, then we would have another discussion and we would say, okay, so what kind of content needs to be made? And we would say, okay, so this is the kind of content that needs to be made. And that was the previous slide of video production, video creation as needed, right? So we would sit down and we would start talking about your channel and what needs to happen and what kind of content. And if needs be, if you needed me to host your broadcast, we would just jump into another very simple Zoom broadcast and we would put together some slides, and then I would go through and I would just do the broadcast for you. Again, a lot of times people are just don't want to do it. They don't want to get in front of the camera. They don't want to get in front of the microphone. Public speaking is considered one of the world's biggest fears. So if that's something that you're having a hard time with, or just doesn't seem like something that you could do, but man, this video-based business sounds really cool, and you could do it if you just didn't have to always be the person in front of the camera. Well, guess what? That can be me. I can host the broadcast, and it fits right back into the sequence of moving things along, because really it's about that perpetual income that I was talking about earlier. The reason why Disney saw Maker 3 just sort of shrink is because, well, when you pay $500 million for a network like Maker 3, yikes, you got to make sure everybody performs. So all that happens is you just get a lot of pressure from the top level, and then it just trickles down until whoever was managing certain YouTube channels just they cracked under the pressure, and what was needed was not able to be provided. And I think a simple somebody willing to host a broadcast and add extra bits of content would have saved Maker 3 and Disney's relationship, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you just need to have that content made, and then all of a sudden that pressure is released, and people are buying, people are doing all that other kind of stuff. That's just what ends up happening. It is what it is. But I don't want to make that a possibility even anywhere close in your mind. So if you need someone to host a broadcast, or if we're going through the coaching and it's like, well, we need this piece of content and this piece of content, and the funnel will work great, then that's what I'll do, and I will construct it, and then it will be done, and then I will discuss what had been done in the next coaching call. Simple as that, right? Now, of course, this is this is going to spawn a lot of questions, so let me answer a couple of them right now. I have done this numerous times, as I mentioned before. When I got Jason Fladlin and I just pointed the Hangout camera at him, he just sold Amazing Selling Machine, and we did phenomenally well. Sometimes that's all you need, is just the right person in front of the camera, and we can discuss that as well. Maybe you have somebody and you just need somebody behind the camera to point it at the right person and then just sort of coach the person along. That's also a possibility. It doesn't necessarily have to be me. I don't necessarily have to be the person on camera, but I can direct that person, and I can direct that person in such a way where it wouldn't even feel like I was there. The entire broadcast would just be your person, or the talent, as they call it in Hollywood, and it would just look like them and just them. But the real YouTube magic behind the scenes is I'm sort of giving them lines like Cyrano de Bergerac. You say this and you say that. But as far as the context of what the end user sees, they don't see me at all. They just see you or your client. And then that's it, because that's what this is meant for. I'm not supposed to be featured in any way. That's my that's my hook, right? I support your stuff, and then I don't take a bow, I don't do anything. This is all you, right? So I can be the guy in front of the camera, I can be the guy behind the microphone, whatever needs to be. Or I can also be the person that just guides you along and then cuts out all the parts where I was saying anything. Yes, I will actually also, cut out all the parts that don't make sense. Because here's the thing, when you do something like this, like I'm proposing, right? So I would say, hey, here's the group coaching, this is the channel that you should make, and then you and I sit down in one-on-one coaching, and you say, okay, so what's the channel that I should make based on our first conversation? I say, well, you have these kinds of channels and these are your goals. So this is the channel that I'm going to produce for you. Okay, now I can do this. I can get in front of the camera, and you go, no, that's fine. Actually, I want to be in front of the camera. I say, all right, great. So I get you in front of the camera, we get everything ready, and then I hit record. And then you're like, oh, uh, and I go, well, you said this was the part where you're like, oh, right, yeah, of course. And then you just start going, right? But then you have that part at the beginning where it was just like a little like, yeah. So if if a scenario happens like that, you just need to keep on going and stay focused on what you want to tell your audience. So you stay focused on that, and then you're done. But then you have a whole bunch of like just video content that has a little bit of extra, just like rando stuff. And if your audience saw it, they'd be like, well, I don't understand. I'm a little confused. Were you the only person there? Right. So that's where I come in, and I optimize your channel. Now, we're not talking about just, oh yeah, we're going to optimize it. No, what we're talking about is you're finished with that broadcast, and then we're done, and then you move on to your next project in your business of whatever needs to happen. And then what I do is I get to work uploading and optimizing your channel for the purpose of making money. So any part where you messed up, or oh no, this or that, I'm the guy who comes in and chop, 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 makes you look exactly how you want it to look, right? So again, I would be hosting you through that entire broadcast, go through all that other kind of stuff and say, and we are done. And then you get to walk away and not think about it until the next week that you and I are talking on the next call. And then you and I would talk, and I'd say, okay, so that broadcast that we did last week, I chopped it up, and uploaded all of the videos to the corresponding YouTube channel that we talked about. Now, this is what it looks like. Now, in that call, what you're going to see is the edited, polished version with all the call to actions and the clicks to the website and everything that needs to be what it is. Okay. So you don't have to worry about all that extra messy editing where, okay, it says this, you always get a clean, nice, good recording after the fact. And that's basically what that looks like. So again, so you understand what this means in the context of this webinar and this coaching, what you're going to start with and what you're going to end with are all of the easy parts. That's it. I, on the other hand, am going to take all of those parts where you didn't look as good as you could have, and all of the parts where I said, hold on, stop, the audio didn't work, all of those parts. Yeah, I'm going to like a magic magician, just whoosh, wipe all that away with the power of editing. Now, if any of you understand how editing works, you know that this is a time-consuming job. That's where I come in. Again, this is what I do. I don't run around in fancy cars and live the internet marketing lifestyle. The work is what I enjoy, so that's what I do. So while you're doing your thing and your lifestyle, I'm getting to work, enjoying every day of my life and editing and all that other kind of stuff. Don't worry about me, but this is a very time consuming process for you, which is why I'm going to do it. I'm going to edit all of the content. I'm going to edit all of the video to make sure that everything looks like it's supposed to look, and then upload to the channel that I created for you, and flip all the dials and nodules and things like that to make sure that it does what you want it to do, which is make money or drive traffic to a website that makes you money, or drive viewers to another channel that you/I created a couple of months prior, so that that channel continues to thrive and grow and doesn't suffer from, an attention virus of some kind, right? So I may be standing on ceremony here, but this has been the biggest problem that I've seen people in a video marketing business, is that they'll actually create the content and then never ever upload it to YouTube, and that's just I can't stand for that, so I won't. So I'll just do that part for you. So again, imagine, hey, this is the channel that you need to create. Then we sit down and have a meeting about it. And then we have a meeting about it. And then I create that content. And then I edit that content. And the next time we talk about it is me telling you how that new content is now operating in the following coaching call. Now, I know you're going to have questions. So I'm going to field questions that you have with another slide that's going to, spawn more questions, but we're almost finished. So we're just going to go to the next chunk there. But I really wanted to sort of close that loop for you so you understood what was happening in this process. Now, I'm also going to give you what's called the video flow checklist. This makes sure that everything in your video-based business stays moving as it should, right? So this is your checklist to make sure that everything that needs to be optimized and doing what it needs to do is done. And this checklist also makes sure that if those things aren't done, that your system sort of reminds you of what you need to do. Because all of these are crucial things that are important, that if you don't address them, it's not that the entire system doesn't work, it just doesn't work as efficiently. So the checklist itself shows that if you haven't done certain things, things like make sure all the appropriate tags are there, and make sure you have all the data about your customer avatar, things like that. Um, Again, it's not that it doesn't work, it just doesn't work as efficiently as it could. So that when you and I are reviewing stuff, I go, okay, according to your video flow checklist, you need to focus on these aspects that I cannot, right? So Again, through our coaching calls, you'll know what you can and can't do and what I can and can't do. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm doing for you, but there are just some things that definitely I cannot do that you will be required to do just based on how marketing and websites work. Like, you would have to click a certain dial because you were the one that created the thing or whatever. Has nothing to do with preference. It has entirely to do with functionality, right? So again, the video flow checklist is meant to help both of us make sure that as we do our coaching, that um, that everything that I do and everything that you do is being done. But if there are any lag issues or anything like that, it's not the end of the world. It's just one of those things of like, oh, well, that's why we have the checklist. Simple as that. Now, this is one of those things that we will be talking about more and more, and you will just be using it more and more as a tool. I've been finding myself just at a loss without this checklist. I always have it. I always have a tab open. I've always got my video flow checklist. Um, this will make sense to you like 6 months from now. Like, oh yeah, that video flow checklist. Really important. You're going to love the tool because it's a tool that I have built over time to make sure that I don't miss anything and everything is the best, is can make the most amount of money possible. So, if you have any questions about the video flow checklist, which I know you do, that will be answered in the next slide, right? But here's the thing. I will be happy to answer any and all questions at the very end, but I know as these slides continue, slides will answer previous questions. So uh, moving on. My retargeting lists, right? Yes. So this is retargeting lists. Maybe you've heard of retargeting lists or remarketing lists or list, re something and then lists, right? This has to do with both Facebook and YouTube and pretty much everywhere on the internet. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot these days where you land on a website and it's like, hey, just want to let you know that we use cookies, 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 cookies. And they talk about cookies a lot. And even if you don't know what cookies are, you know that they are important for reasons. So the thing with cookies is that's just the data that the computer grabs to figure out what's going on, what kind of activity that you're doing on the internet. That's a very, very basic rudimentary lesson. If you know anything more than that, you probably are like, you missed a few things, but that's not super important. Um, but I have amassed quite a few remarketing lists or retargeting lists through YouTube over my career. Like I said, I have a couple of different YouTube channels that have made me um, quite a bit of money, of which one is just a channel that you saw before that the only purpose of the channel was to sell one product and one product only. And that channel has 4,000 subscribers with new subscribers every single day. Right now, that those subscribers are people who purchased or are in the mood to purchase a $3,500 product about how to sell products on Amazon, right? But that would be a pretty sweet list to have, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is that you're going to have access to my retargeting lists. So let's say we gone through, you just did some group coaching and you hear, okay, this is the next channel that you should be creating. And then I sit down with you and I say, this is the channel that I just created for you. And these are the videos, this is the subscriber sequence. And these are the videos that you and I created. And I just sort of coached you through some of these videos and then you made them and then I edited all of those videos. And this is what the channel looks like after the fact. Now, as I said before, you're going to want to get the traffic. What's that subscriber sequence? We're going to force the algorithms of YouTube to give us the audience that we want. We're not going to conform to them. We're going to get the audience that wants, when they look at our videos, go, wow, yeah, I want more of that. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to click the bell and I'm going to follow instructions that were given to me, right? So I will take my own retargeting lists and then match it against your channel and the content that was produced and go, okay, I think this audience is the audience that needs to be pushed this towards your channel. So I will leverage my retargeting lists and push my traffic towards your channels. Really simple, right? But that's what it takes. That you need to sort of just train the search engine and say, hey, this is the traffic that we want. So your organic algorithms, your organic machines that say, hey, you should totally check it out. Make sure only this type of audience sees it. And that's the power of retargeting lists. But that's also why we do a once a week coaching to make sure that the retargeting lists are pointed at the right places and, you know, just make sure that your video marketing business is moving as it should. So the retargeting list, you're probably wondering, well, wait a second. So that probably has to do something with AdWords. Isn't this going to cost any money? Yes and no. That, and again, of course, I can feel the questions just being hammered in. How does this work? Doesn't this cost money? Yes, I will answer all of the questions that are already being hammered in the next slide, and I know all of you are going to love it, right? So retargeting lists, remarketing lists, AdWords. How is this going to work? Ad budget. Now, this is called, when I say ad budget, well, in order to leverage a retargeting list, you need an ad budget. And what I'm talking about is a micro spend. It does not take much money at all. This is, you could probably take this one piece of information and then walk away and then not need this webinar or the coaching or anything. You can walk away with this and make millions. Okay. You can force AdWords to give you organic traffic. It's true. It's absolutely true. It's called a micro spend. And all you're doing is you're using the power of AdWords to train the algorithms of the organic search using a little teeny tiny micro spend and saying, hey, we're going to pay for this kind of traffic to go to this video. So if you have the right kind of traffic going to that video, and that traffic is watching 100% of the video, and they're clicking a thumbs up and they're liking it and they're making comments and they're saying, this is amazing, this is great. It's in YouTube's best interest to only push traffic that is interested in your videos organically if they have any kind of data that shows that. Well, that's the whole point of a micro spend, right? All you're doing, and only for a couple of days, sometimes even only a couple of hours, all you're doing is saying, hey, 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 organic robots, this is the kind of traffic that you should be sending to this YouTube channel and this specific video. And that's it. That's, I wish I could make this sound more complicated or more whiz bang, but that's it. Within a couple of days, you can force the organic algorithm to push traffic, the best kind of traffic that will love your video no matter how long or short it is, with a little teeny tiny micro spend, which of course I will be managing and then just, telling you, hey, this is what was happening. You didn't have to spend that money and I didn't have to spend that money, but this is what's happening in the micro spend. Now, if you start seeing like traffic and sales and things like that coming from the micro spend, then we will take another time. You can pick up your bat phone if you want and say, hey, I need you to remove your micro spend so that I can put my card on the AdWords thing, and we can do whatever onboarding from there. But it does happen often, a lot. It happened a lot over time, but there is a very real chance that through testing with the micro spend, all of a sudden you start making sales, and there is a very real possibility that we would have to stop the micro spend on my side, and then you would have to get your own AdWords account. And oh no, because really I have this kind of flat sarcastic tone of, oh no, at that point, like we would leave the micro spend because you go, holy crap, if I spend $1, I make 100. So I'm going to do that myself and not use your micro spend. That's it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not going to say when it's going to happen, but I'm saying it does happen if you follow along and take the steps that you need to take. And really, it's just that simple. It's nothing more than that. To which, again, I know there's there's more questions, but that's really it. That's the entire explanation. That's what you're going to get. This, part one and part two of what you're what you're going to get. Um, yeah, so I'm just going to be quiet for a second and open up the question box here, because I know there's always these questions primarily focused on the ad budget part. That's why I left it towards the end, because I knew I could stack all of the slides in such a way that whatever questions that you had prior, well, I was pretty sure the other slides would answer it, but then those slides would cause more questions. And now we're at the very end of what I offer here, this micro spend, because really once you get to this point, right, and we're talking about a micro spend so that you can be making money, and then like, okay, so this is triggering and this is triggering, and now you're getting opt-ins, and like, okay, that's cool, and now you're getting this, and then say maybe some video creation needs to be done. It's like, well, the funnel isn't quite optimized just yet. We need this piece, so okay, we create that piece and that piece, and then oh, oh no, we're making sales. We need to increase traffic. Well, that means we need to remove micro spend and then just set up AdWords, and then there you go. But it seems like a really simple, safe progression to go from knowing nothing and being able to do nothing and making money, and still not knowing anything and still being able to make money, because, well, essentially what I'm offering you is me to do it for you. I mean, again, of course, you do need to be involved, but not that much. Also, this is meant so that you can understand all the pieces. This is not a super simple business. If you want a super simple business, I can show you how to buy and sell items on eBay. That is the simplest business you could possibly find. Um, I have one of those businesses. It's great. I do it all the time because it's such a simple business. But, you know, we're talking about something that can continuously and perpetually generate revenue and income, uh, not just now, but for the rest of your life. This can be passed down to generations. I mean, this is one of those things that I am so confident in it working for you and making money for you that I'm willing to just do most of the work for you until you start seeing like, oh, and then I could make this video, or I could have somebody else make a video, and then we just continue making money. And then that's how this coaching and all this stuff works. That's how all of this was intended to work. I've been doing this for 10 years. Okay. Now coming up on 12 years, but I've been doing this for so long, I can see the potential issues and whatever issues that you could run into, and say, hey, I will take care of all of those. So before you even feel any discomfort, I've taken care of all the issues. And when you look at, well, what work has been done, you'll see that a whole bunch of work has been done, and it's, hey, look at that. It's also generating money. Now, I mean, you can make money and you can make videos, but if you did both, that would be the ultimate, right? And that's really why you're here. You want to see if you can do this video based business. And you absolutely can, even if you don't have any experience. That's what I'm here for. So I don't think that, I mean, I wanted to take a little bit of time to make sure that I could get all of the questions sort of mashed up before we get into the next slide, because, well, I already know that there's going to be a bunch of questions about ad budget and broadcasting and one-on-one coaching, all those kinds of things. Folks, we're in an attention economy. It's simple as that, and it's not just about having one YouTube channel that does all this stuff. Maker 3 and Disney proved to us that it can't just be one thing and then it just makes all the money. No, you need a lot more, and you need not just a lot of them. You don't need just quantity, you also need quality. That's also what I'm here for, to make sure that the quantity and the quality stays high, so that when everyone else dies away and they start suffering from burnout, or they just can't figure out, like, oh, what kind of products can I sell to make sure that this YouTube channel keeps making money. That's why we do it this way, to make sure that it just continues to grow and thrive, instead of, oh man, this channel was great, now it's dead. No, it's just going to continue to grow and thrive. More channels, more networks, and they all connect together. So, all right. So I'm going to go